Hello and welcome everybody to episode 20 of the Lights Out F1 podcast, the Japanese Grand Prix review. And tonight we have all the normal segments, the 5 lights on, 5 lights out segment, where Aussie's going to give us his wrap-up and review of the Japanese Grand Prix as he went to visit and all the other action that happened on and off the track during the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, the checkered flag section, and then off to the S3 Awards, getting to the pointy end of things right now, so all the points will matter greatly. The Rookie Watch, podium predictions from Japan, and our future ones for Mexico. The Fantasy League results, and things are getting really spicy there as well. Lots of sim racing and esports news to fix things up, and some crazy rule changes for the official F1 esports. So stick around to find out what those are. But it is episode 20, titled James, It's Valtteri. Well done. Here's that message as he received it on track after the race.
James, it's Valtteri. Well done. Thank you.
Amazing start, Valtteri. Really well done to you. Really well done. Great win.
Cheers.
Well, hello, listeners. This is the Lights at F1 podcast. I'm Josh from Demo 1, and always I've got Aussie from FNL1 with me, and he's just come back from Japan, man. How was your Japanese Grand Prix weekend? Well, a good one, I suppose.
Arigato gozaimasu. Yes, it was a freaking awesome week.
But you had to watch the F1 race again to get all the drama and stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to put the pieces back together when I landed back in Australia and brought the Typhoon to Japan and everything.
Yeah. How was the Typhoon? Did you see it happen?
No. You know, in hindsight, I even said to Tracy, I said, you know, I kind of feel like I missed out, you know, all that hype and everything. You know, that's just a really silly thing to say because some parts did really get devastated in parts of Tokyo, and they even copped 2 earthquakes. I'm not sure if you heard or not, but on top of it all as well, 5.6 on the Richter scale. So they copped 2 earthquakes. Yeah, so we left Tokyo a day before all that happened, and then in Nagoya where we were just on the outskirts of the Typhoon, which all we saw was really heavy rain and lots of wind.
Right.
Like, in hindsight, qualifying on Saturday could have went ahead, but
they couldn't really take that chance, could they?
That's right, because they already on Friday before we left the track after practice, they were already taking everything down. So they actually rebuilt the whole thing again on Sunday. Yeah,
there were videos on Reddit and F1 TV. They took down like all the broadcasting equipment, packed it away, all the every like supporting structure for F1, the weather stuff, you know, the broadcasting team, whatever else they got, the cameras and stuff, all had to be taken down and packed up on Saturday and then put back together before Sunday morning, which must have been a huge undertaking.
You can only imagine. Apparently they found a deserted, or they found some undercover old garage or something, which is where they reset up the broadcasting stuff, for lack of a better word.
That's sort of interesting because you don't really think about all that infrastructure that they've got behind the scenes to bring
Correct.
I reckon they should do more because they did a video on it. They should do more stuff like that because it's very interesting what happens behind the scenes.
I've seen Sky sometimes do like a hyperlapse, like a time-lapse video of the F1 paddock being put up and then pulled down. And, yeah, it's quite amazing when you watch that, isn't it? Like, for someone that doesn't know, and you look at all these buildings and the motorhomes, and they actually build that in one day, and then they take it all down and they take it to the next race.
Yeah.
Like, it is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I know we got the 5 lights segment to get through, but we didn't mention it, and I think it's too big of a topic for checkered flag, and it doesn't quite fit into lights out section, but we need to ask this question. Qualifying on a Sunday, it's been done before, but everyone asked the question, should we do it from here on in? What were your takeaways? Because it was an interesting scenario. We got to see what it's like on a Sunday before the race.
All right, well, we had our 5th light out as my Suzuka experience. Let's make it the first one, and
All right.
Get straight into
we'll do it on the
as our
fly.
first light.
So this is
Yeah,
the 5
why
lights
not?
out, 5 lights on segment, and we're going to go with the last topic first. Yeah, your Suzuka experience review. Let's talk about the qualifying on a Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to start with the qualifying chat. For me, personally, I loved it. Having the qualifying on the Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, we got to the track about 8:30, got all settled in.
Did you have to get up super, like as a fan, this is interesting as well, did you have to get up super early? Was there a lot of traffic? What was it like?
Yeah, well, it's an express train they have we were staying in Nagoya, which is the closest major town to Suzuka, because for people that don't know, Suzuka is out in like an industrial area of Japan. So it's quite out of the way. Like, you wouldn't really position yourself there for a week or something, because there's not that much to do specifically in the Suzuka area.
Yep.
So we stayed in Nagoya, which is the third largest city in Japan. By an express train, it was about an hour to Suzuka Inoue Station. You get off at the station, and then it's about a 20-minute walk to the track. On the Sunday morning, we were up at, I think it was 6 o'clock, 5 to 6. We set the alarm, and then we caught the train at about 7:30 or 7 o'clock from memory.
Yep.
And I have never been squashed like a sardine like that in my life. There's about 4 stops on the way, and where we got on at Nagoya, the train was packed. And we were standing there. I've got a backpack, which is at my feet. Tracy's got a backpack and, standing there. And the train was packed. We stop at the next station, more people pile in. And then we're like, no way. And then we stop again, and we're like, why are we stopping? No one else can fit.
Yeah.
No, they can fit. They just shove it in. I had this little short Asian lady, Japanese lady, behind me, and she would have been like, the top of her head was probably at the bottom of my shoulder blades. And she was fully just leaning on me like I'm just a brick wall. Like I was her wall on the right.
Why not?
Got this, I was squashed from every side possible on the way to the track. It was amazing. But at the same time, no one was angry. Everyone was happy. We were all pumped, ready to go onto the track. So we get there, and qualifying is at 10 o'clock. And what an awesome session that was. Perfect day. It was blowing a little bit, as we all know.
Yeah, it was a bit windy.
Kubica losing it at turn 1 on the first lap. So that wind was catching a couple of them out. I think it also caught Magnussen out.
Yes, it did.
But aside from the gusts of wind, the day itself was really hot. Tracy actually got burnt on her arm, where she missed a bit of sunscreen.
Sunscreen, yeah.
But then that finishes at 11, and then a couple of hours later, 2 p.m, the race is on. The day went so quick.
Yeah, that's good. Well, in saying that, is it going to create more traffic? Probably not, because it's going to be race day anyway. There's going to be a lot of people going.
100%.
But yeah, like just for someone watching it on TV, obviously there was nothing on Saturday, but Sunday was a good day. It was a full day of just racing, which I kind of enjoyed myself actually.
Well, this is the 5th time it's happened.
And it also made it
Japan.
interesting because of, like, if there was any big crashes, which we did see a couple, they didn't have a whole night now to go in and fix it. They had a few hours to fix issues.
Think that's probably the biggest negative to having qualifying and the race on the same day. If there is a major issue, it probably puts the team under the pump big time. Especially if the chassis on the car gets bent during quali or something and they need to do a full car swap.
Yep.
I mean, there's probably a chance sometimes where the car might not even make it onto the grid. But you know what? I'd be willing to take that risk. And if you cut out a day where maybe we don't need the Friday, maybe you just make the weekend Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Especially we're talking about bringing in more races into the calendar. If we're going to have a 25 race calendar, I'm sure even if the team themselves are under the pump for those 2 days, I'm sure they'd appreciate not having to be there for 3 days.
Well, I'm sure the drivers themselves enjoyed the Saturday off. They seem to be having a good time at the hotel.
I don't know about the day off on the Saturday, but I heard quite a few of them saying Dan being one of them, Romain Grosjean another one, that I definitely heard quoted saying that they enjoyed the Sunday like that a lot more because they got to actually drive rather than just wait around for the race all day.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Because, yeah, they'd be in it from the morning and then debrief after the quali, and then that'd go like crazy because you said it went quick. It'd probably go quicker for the drivers, and then they're back on track to get lined up on the grid.
So after experiencing that firsthand as a spectator at the track, I thought that's definitely the way to go. I don't know if they're going to actually go ahead and make these changes, which everyone are talking about.
Yep.
But I think it would definitely be a move in the right direction.
It would
As
also,
a fan,
yeah,
it makes the day just... I mean, we're there to watch F1. We don't want to watch some support cars going around. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We want to see F1s, and you get to see them twice in one day in something that actually... What's the word? Like it means something. Like you're watching qualifying and then the race.
Yeah, it'd be nice to do that because it'd also give, I guess, Formula 2 and that it'd give them a whole day to do things, and give them more of a spotlight as well because they sort of get drowned out behind F1 at the same time.
I guess you could make Fridays more about the F2s and F3s.
Yeah, or Saturday as well, if they're not going to do anything on the Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
if they had practice on Friday, then the F2s and F3s on a Saturday, and then the F1s again on Sunday.
Yeah. And it'd just be, I don't know, just be good because...
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah. I enjoyed it at home because, it was nice for once because it was on at a time that was reasonable, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then... Because it was only an hour behind Tokyo time, I think, where I am, in Brisbane, and then the race was at like 1 o'clock or something. So I was eating lunch while I was watching the race. And it's so good to do that, but we don't get to do that every race. I know we complain about it all the time, but it was nice, yeah.
So what if the race, the quali and the race was always on a Sunday as it is? How would it affect us here in Australia? Because we normally get the race at 11 o'clock, so 11 p.m.
Yeah, you'd have the quali...
for most of the European races. So when would we be seeing quali? Around 6 p.m?
Oh, 6, 7 o'clock, something like that.
Which would suit me fine. That's kind of like while you're having your dinner, you watch qualifying, and then you go off and do something with the family and settle back in for the pre-race stuff and the race.
But it also gives you a whole day to just... Because, like, F1, because you, obviously if you're a big follower, you're watching Friday practice, you're watching Saturday practice, Saturday qualifying, and then Sunday. But if you didn't have Saturday, then it doesn't just give the team and the drivers a day off, it gives a fan a day off as well. You know what I mean?
That's actually a good point too with the day off for
Yeah.
the fans as well, because in hindsight, as I said to you earlier, with Typhoon Hagibis kind of moving east a bit more than they were expecting, so it didn't really hit Suzuka and Nagoya, that area, as expected. In hindsight, qualifying could have been held on Saturday under just really wet, soggy conditions.
Yep.
And even me, as a hardcore fan, I would have suffered through that, but my wife Tracy, she would have hated it, sitting around, because we didn't have any cover on our seats where we were at turn 4 and 5 there. So she would have hated it. Whereas now, we actually, yes, it was a write-off that day because we actually couldn't do anything. Even the malls were all closed. We couldn't go shopping.
Yeah.
All the public transport was pretty much shut down, except just for bare minimum trains. All major transport was off. People were told to stop driving after 11 a.m. in the morning. Right. So it was an absolute shutdown. People were being told to stock up on food. The 7-Elevens were selling out of all food and water. Like, people were really stocking up, like a lockdown for 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
We were getting alerts on our phone from NHK News stuff, which is the Japan to keep in touch for tourists and stuff there.
Yeah.
So it was pretty major. It was a serious event, but I can just imagine how terrible it would have been for Tracy to sit there on Saturday, pouring rain,
Yeah.
Soggy to our underwear. There would have been not a single thing dry on us. Whereas then we got to go to the race on Sunday, unbelievably under blue skies. Perfect day, other than a bit of breeze.
Yeah. Oh, apart from the fans at the track, just the fans at home as well, because F1's becoming a full-time job now that they want 22 races or whatever it is in a season. It's a long time. It's a lot of hours, if you're a full fan of the sport.
Exactly. I mean, like you, I watch most practice sessions. Very rarely do I miss it. I might not get to watch them live, but I always record them and watch later.
Yeah.
If I ever do miss a practice session, it's probably FP3 on a Saturday afternoon because it becomes a bit much with the family and always just sitting in front of the box for FP3 because I never miss qualifying. I always watch that live and I always watch the race live. And then you've got the lead up and then the after race. So, like you say, it becomes a chore every fortnight to watch the Formula One.
Yeah, you got to plan your weekend around it sometimes. So yeah, I think they should consider maybe continuing this trend and have it on Sunday instead.
Well, Liberty's always talking about spicing things up and changing things up. Now, rather than the actual racing, let's change the format a little bit. I mean, even if we got rid of one of the practice sessions, like I think we've discussed before.
Yeah.
I personally feel the less prepared the teams are for the race itself, the more chance you've got of an odd result here or there.
Well, that sort of happened here in Japan because
correct,
they couldn't plan for the conditions and they didn't have all the data that they usually would have, and it just created more of an unknown during the qualifying, which was nice to see happen.
Well, even during the race with Lewis, because wasn't there a radio call there after they changed him, and when Lewis realised he had to stop again, he questioned his own team and said, well, if you weren't sure about the tyres, why'd you put me on the mediums and not the hards? And the team said, well, we didn't have enough info on the hards.
Yeah.
So they just went with what they knew.
Yeah. Yeah, and that created a situation where we had a bit of drama out of it and Valtteri winning the race, and that probably all stemmed from the Saturday not being run.
Yeah, well,
so I'm all for it.
I honestly think that's a goer. The quality on a Sunday morning, the race on a Sunday afternoon. I think.
I know we knee-jerk reaction a lot. I always say it, but I actually think that this was actually something that could benefit the sport and
I think
more aspects than just one. It might not fix the racing like you said, but I think it will be a bit of downtime for the drivers, a bit of downtime for the teams, create an unknown for the racing and the qualifying, gives us fans at the track and watching at home, some respite during a long season, and that's got to be better for everyone.
Well, I'd throw my support behind a format change like this a lot more than some silly reverse grid mock race on a Saturday to try to enhance some passing,
Yeah.
But that's just a whole nother issue altogether.
It is. Yeah, was there anything else?
The race.
What about the rest of your weekend? What else did you want to share?
I was just going to say that for anyone out there who's not on the FNL1 page, if there's ever an overseas track that you want to go to, or you're thinking, I'm going to talk my missus into it, or I'm going to save my pennies and this is the race I'm going to go to, honestly, I could not recommend Suzuka any higher. Like, if it's somewhere on your list, move it to the top. Just from first-hand experience, from a spectator point of view, being a figure-8 track, also with the undulations of the land where the racetrack is.
Yep.
You would have seen the photos, Josh, and there's still plenty more that I've got to show you, but from our seats, which were on their S-curves between turn 4 and 5,
yep,
we could see from pit exit down into turn 1, around turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, past us and up into turn 5. So we got that whole first section of the cars coming through, and it was awesome. We saw all the action coming into turn 1. But my point being, when I went to Melbourne, being a flat track, a street track, we sat at turn 3 and all we could see was turn 3 and 4, maybe a bit of 5.
Yeah.
But it was from a very flat perspective, so you only got to see the cars for a little bit. Here at Suzuka, you can go and sit around at 130R, where you see the cars fly past you, but you can also see down ahead of you, down in the cars coming into Degner 1.
Yeah, you would be
them,
able to, yeah.
You can see them coming out of Dunlop curve,
Yep.
and then you can also see them after 130R going down into the last chicane. So it's like you can position yourself somewhere on the track, anywhere around the track, where you can see 2 or 3, 4 different corners, even not connected together, just different corners of the track.
Yeah, so you get a good overall picture of the track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a really good spectator track.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it is a purpose-built racetrack.
Yep.
And then take the F1 side of it, the track side of it, out of it. The people, the Japanese people are just, I found to be amazing, the most respectful, just happy people.
That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't get that. I'm sure if you go to Melbourne, you probably get a few drunk, disrespectful, angry people. Because, I don't know, we're just like that sometimes, aren't we? But yeah, it's different to see how different cultures, how they react and work together and how they do things.
With my experience overall, that's what blew me away the most. Obviously, I was very, what's the word, a bit tense maybe with the language barrier and worried about, you know.
Remember you talking about that before you
Yeah,
left.
that was my biggest concern. But mate, even without any English, playing a bit of charades along the way, using your Google Translate, it was just an awesome experience, and I highly recommend it for anyone out there.
10 out of 10 from Aussie.
Oh, definitely.
Well, maybe I'll have to go there one year because I've not been to a live race yet.
I hope and I can't wait that hopefully one day I'll get a chance to go back.
Who knows? You might just do that.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that was your Suzuka experience review. What were the facilities like before we end it? Were they good? Average?
Well,
Bad?
very good.
Very good.
Plenty of food. All in sections.
Do they keep you entertained as well? Is there DJs or stuff going on? What's go there?
No. On that side of things, no. As far as entertainment, I've heard at Singapore is amazing. They have some major bands and stuff come to Singapore. Here, I don't know if the Typhoon had any play in it or not, but
Right.
there really wasn't any entertainment. And if we're talking about disappointments, I guess the only thing that I didn't even get to see the F4 support races, which were supposed to be there, but they got called off because of the
Typhoon.
Because of the Typhoon, they were called off. So the only support race on track that I got to see was the Porsches. Other than that,
Right.
there was nothing else other than F1. There's no real... The crowd themselves, like, they are all eccentric. Some of them are crazily dressed. And
Oh, there's always good costumes at
yeah,
Suzuka.
in the paddock and that, it's awesome. But
Yeah.
as far as actual, like, paid entertainment, like, they had DJ going on... One of their local radio station guys were there in the big Jeep and stuff. But
Yeah.
there was no, like, I don't know, like at Singapore where they got Ariana Grande after qualifying or whatever and that sort of stuff.
That's not something I care about personally, but I'm sure some people do.
Yes.
Maybe I'm getting old and don't care anymore. Who knows? But yeah, anyway, thanks for sharing that. That was interesting because I've never ever been, and hopefully some of the people out there have never been, or maybe convince them to go to Suzuka next year.
It's always been one of my favourite tracks, Suzuka. I mean, but now I'm in love with the place now.
Yeah. It's like that when you go overseas and you enjoy your time. It's like, you must go here. You tell everyone.
That's right, yes.
Because I had a good time in San Francisco when I went there, and everyone who says, "Oh, what do you recommend if they have San Francisco in a list of places?" I'm like, "Go to San Fran. It's so good." But yeah, anyway.
Especially when I come back and people say to me, you know, well, how'd you find it? And like you kind of try to balance things out, and you want to look for negatives. And the worst thing I can say about Japan is that it was just really hard to get a good coffee. Other than that, I really didn't have much negatives. Like, I paid $10 for the worst coffee of my life.
There's probably worse things out there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, fair enough. All right, that's the first light done and dusted. Second light, let's talk about Sebastian Vettel, his non-jump start and the qualifying lap as well. It was a bloody quick pace from that man. He was on form this weekend, wasn't he?
Mate, that in Q2 to Q1, where did he find over a second?
I don't know. Like
with it, you know, we always talk about the Mercedes party mode.
Yeah.
Have Ferrari got a massive party mode now? Have they got rave mode going? Because I was looking at the times, and the Mercs, I think, found about 0.4 of a second or somewhere about there. Sebastian found 1.1 second between Q2 and Q3. Leclerc found about 0.9, I think, from memory it was. So, they just... It was... You don't normally see that much of a leap.
No, it was huge. And, Ferrari, it's a pity that it's coming together for them at the end of this season, because it's creating a really interesting finish now. But whatever they're doing, I don't know if it's development or whatever they've developed, it's starting to work for them.
Well, I think it goes to show that they really went the wrong way with that front wing. You know, with the whole front wing redesigns in the off-season.
Yeah. And
they rested on their laurels, whereas Mercedes had their two different concepts that they were tossing up in testing, and they chose the right one, obviously. And
it's 50-50, especially when you probably got a choice of this design or that one.
Yeah, and obviously now Ferrari have managed to redesign and rebuild that front end, but unfortunately it's too late.
And they've just got the pace out of the corners and down the straights as well that no one can seem to match. Like Mercedes I don't even think Mercedes are close to the pace of Ferraris.
In a straight line, I think it seems that seems to be the word. It's not like they're... What am I trying to say? Well, it's not like they're going any slower around the corners. Like, you know how they were saying that the Ferraris are so fast down the straight, but the Mercs are faster around the corners. Are we saying now that the Ferrari is just overall just way faster than the Merc, or...
I think it could be, because probably the tyres that's just letting them down at the end of the day. I think
that was their biggest problem all year. The Ferrari just couldn't switch on those tyres. Now, with this extra downforce they've built into the car, obviously they're able to switch on the tyres finally.
Yeah, and it's just a shame because it's about to all change on them.
The biggest surprise actually here since the summer break is Red Bull. They've really dropped off, haven't they? We were expecting them to go well at Suzuka. We were expecting them to win Singapore.
Yeah, we were.
They should have went good at Russia, but they've just gone missing. It's almost like they've taken a couple of steps backwards,
and Renault have done the trend we thought Red Bull were going to take slightly, because Renault is starting to improve a lot.
That was definitely enjoyable at the racetrack over the weekend when for a while there it seemed like every time Ricciardo went past me, he was passing a car into turn one. He was just ploughing through the field. It was awesome.
It was good to watch. And people complain of no overtaking. Just let Albon and Daniel Ricciardo do it. They'll turn on the show.
But then, what did you think about his non-false start and then the non-penalty?
Oh, like Paul di Resta in the commentary team, he picked it up straight away. He's like, there's tolerances and he could be okay. And obviously, Paul di Resta was right. But, it's to me, I'm like... It was funny, because I was sort of torn, because... He was running around. I was like, "Oh, please don't disqualify him because it's just going to ruin a good race, rah." But at the same time, I'm like, that looked like a jump start to me. It doesn't matter if he didn't go past that tolerance, but the car moved. It moved, and that's what I thought a jump start was. But there's obviously a mathematical equation that you need to apply before you can, judge it being a jump start.
I'm with you on this one. We haven't discussed this pre-podcast, so we're discussing it for the first time. But live at the track, all I saw was a Mercedes flying into turn one ahead of the Ferraris, and I just assumed it was Hamilton. Yeah. It actually took me till lap 2 till I realised, shit, that's Bottas.
Yeah.
I had no idea what Vettel had done until after the fact. Then I watched the replay and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'm with you in the sense that the car actually moved. It wasn't a matter of him just putting it into gear, and how sometimes the car takes a little leap forward when they engage the gear.
Didn't we have this issue?
Which is why that tolerance is there.
Didn't we have this issue with Bottas one year? I don't know. I don't know where exactly it was, but was it Bottas that did a jump start and they found that he didn't go past? I think it might have been Singapore or something, and he didn't go past the tolerances there.
He didn't actually do a jump start. His reaction time was like 0.001, or it was
that's right.
the most perfect start you could make.
Yeah.
So now,
but this was clearly a moving car before the lights.
That's what I'm saying. I know that he brought it back to a stop before or as the lights turned, so he actually penalised himself anyway, big time, as we all know.
Yeah.
But I would have, if I was a steward, I would have called that a jump start, because he actually let the clutch out and he was moving. Because otherwise, aren't we saying here that if there is a certain tolerance, and the tolerance apparently is not known to the teams, and apparently they change it so that it can't be a constant tolerance that the teams could figure out and work towards, right?
Yeah.
But in essence, you could almost take a gamble where you could have a little bit of a guess and get your car moving so that you've almost got a rolling start, so to speak.
Well, because
provided you're in the tolerance.
Wasn't it like, he didn't go past the certain line, which meant he
the yellow line or something, yeah.
So, what if you just started, to, half a wheel turn or a wheel turn back, and then just started rolling, and then hopefully before you hit that line, it went green, and then just floored it. You'd have... That's an advantage. Surely you can do that.
If you know the tolerance, and that's right. But let's say for argument's sake, if the tolerance is 30 centimetres and you let your car roll 27 centimetres before the lights go out, then you've timed it perfectly. But if you roll 32 centimetres, then you've got a jump start. So I kind of feel like I get why the tolerance is there.
I think it should just be black and white.
I think it should be a common sense thing where, hang on, that wasn't an engaging the gear. That was actually him letting go of the clutch. So
yeah, to me it was a jump start and should have been penalised. But
having said all that, I'm glad that he didn't get penalised. And as you said, we had a great race. Bottas just drove away with it, but the real race was between Vettel and Hamilton, and especially the end of the race, the last 10 laps of it was really tense and very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when they said, "Oh, we think Vettel's jump start," I was just like, please no. It's just going to ruin what seems to be a good race at this point. And he wasn't, and it didn't ruin that race. But we've got to be consistent here. Because I say it every week, and I've been really harsh with some of the penalties this year. But a jump start's a jump start. You should be penalised.
Yeah, and again, going back with what we've said, they do say rules are rules, and apparently this was in the tolerances.
Yeah, well, I guess if it's in the rules, then he's okay, but...
That's what I'm saying.
It's so vague that you're just doesn't make much sense.
For me, just to the naked eye, if that's not a jump start, then I don't know what is. That's what I'm saying.
Neither do I. And then some people say that at the same time it put off other drivers... and things like that, so it was a disadvantage for some. It clearly disadvantaged, like you said, it disadvantaged Vettel, but there was arguments on Reddit saying, it put other people, could have made them jump start.
Leclerc, because Leclerc's beside him. Once he sees Vettel moving,
he's probably going to go.
That's why he probably had a poor start as well.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling even Hamilton had a poor start behind Leclerc, and then he got boxed in, because if you think about, we'll probably come to that later with the Leclerc and Max coming together at turn 2.
Yeah.
If they didn't come together, where was Hamilton going to be? He would have been 5th or 6th even. I think he would have been 5th behind them.
Yeah, he would have been lucky to get 4th. But yeah, he would have been behind them for sure. So it really would have changed the race, the end of the race, basically.
Correct. So it It is what it is. It's been done now, but yeah, that's what. To my naked eye, it looked like a
jump
start.
start. I'd have to agree.
Yeah, so I think we're in agreement with that one.
I'd have to agree. All right, well, let's do third light.
That's it. We're on the third light.
Let's talk about Leclerc and just everything that happened to him. The first,
our old mate Leclerc.
We'll have to start point by point. Would be the collision with Max, wouldn't it?
Yeah, how'd you see that? For me, I actually saw it live.
Yeah.
And the crowd went off. It was a massive size happening there at the start of the race. And then after watching replays, and particularly, I think Sky showed it from Hamilton's view when behind Leclerc. He just let his car drift out towards Max there. So I put the total onus on Leclerc. Sure, he lost a bit of aero wash on the front wing, which probably caused the understeer on a green track, cold tyres. I can understand all of that. But at the end of the day, he's the one controlling the accelerator, and he's the one who could have backed off and kept the car a lot tighter to the right.
Oh, he had 1.5 miles on his right-hand side.
Yep.
So he can't complain that there was nowhere for him to go because there was plenty of room. And being lap 1, turn 1, just... You don't need to fight it so hard. This isn't the last lap for a podium, you know?
Not very often I'm going to be sticking up for Max with moves like this, but in this particular case, there was absolutely nothing he could do, I don't think. He was out on the outside, he left plenty of room, and Leclerc just drove into him.
Did you find it ironic when Max was complaining about Leclerc's aggressive move on him? Because obviously we've seen Verstappen do similar type moves before.
Oh, come on, man. Now we're talking about mature Max.
Oh, okay. I know people can change, but it's just funny to see it coming from Max.
No, I'm just having a bit of jest there, but I know what you're saying. But at the same time, like I just said, there really wasn't much more Max could do.
No, there was nothing.
Leclerc is the one who should have backed out of this. He's the one who should have kept his car in tighter to the right, and allowed Max the room.
I don't know what Leclerc doesn't have. He doesn't have to prove anything at this point. He's
really in a slump, isn't he? After his massive comeback after the summer break with his 2 back-to-back wins and poles, and I think
he's let Russia get to him.
He's feeling the pressure a little bit now.
Yeah, so, I would have to put it on... Do you think he should have been penalised? Oh, he was. But I'm thinking what happened at the time. Yeah, anyway.
No, but the problem there is, at first, the stewards said, no case to answer.
Yeah, they weren't even going to investigate it, and then they changed their mind.
That's the bit I want to know. What happened there? What made them change their mind? Was it when Max retired, then they realised, hang on, there's more to this? Or
maybe
why did they
new
change
evidence
their mind?
came to light. Maybe they saw a different camera angle. Maybe they realised they made a mistake and were like, we need to look into this because it affected someone's race.
Because I think he should have been penalised a couple of times. Because what about driving with the broken wing? And even though his pit called him in, he decided, no, I'm not coming in.
I was listening to his radio as that was happening. And I had it synced up perfectly. So I was getting the radio the moment I was seeing it on TV. And he was obviously questioning, do I need to come in? Do I need to come in? And at that point, he was nowhere near the pits. He was nowhere near the pit entrance. And then as he come around, and then it fell off it just before 130R, and then just before he entered the pit lane, that's when they were like, stay out, stay out, stay out, because there was nothing hanging off the car anymore. And Leclerc was saying, I don't think I need to come in, the car feels fine. And they didn't really see him losing time, so they just told him to stay out. So, I'm a little bit of two minds with this one, because I'm sort of like, it fell off before he could get to the pits anyway, so he was also told to stay out by Ferrari. People seem to forget that part.
No, but I think the bit you're missing is that what you're saying there happened on lap 2. He actually did a whole lap with that broken wing first. That was the second time around in 130R.
No, it did happen on lap 2.
So the first time he should have come into the pits. That's when the team were telling him to come in. And he said, Are you sure? No, I'm not going to come in. And he didn't come in.
Did it fall off lap 2, did it?
Yeah, it didn't fall off on lap 1.
Oh, this is what happens when we do it a week late.
Yeah, no, he drove around with that thing scraping on the ground.
Well, in that case...
And if you think about the danger side of it, when the way it broke off and hit Lewis, it actually hit his halo and then broke Lewis's wing mirror.
Yeah, obviously we need the halo. It's clearly. The halo's done its job a few times.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying that, if the halo wasn't there, Lewis would have been in intensive care or anything, but I'm just saying that from a danger point of view, that was hanging off and it flew off at speed, and it could have easily went into the crowd too, I guess. Should
he have been given a black and orange flag, whatever it is, to go into the pits?
That's what I'm saying. He could have been penalised a couple of times, not just once. Yeah.
So is it up to the race director then to tell someone to pit, or is it up to the team?
The teams know the rules, but the race director should have put the flag out too. And I believe once the flag goes out, I think they've got 3 laps to come in.
I don't know how many laps, to be honest.
Or as soon as you get it, you need to come in.
I thought it was like as soon as you get it, you got to come in that moment.
Because it's a dangerous situation.
Yeah. So that's why I thought, maybe there should be a black and orange flag put out, but that didn't happen.
I just feel like Leclerc is just a little bit of cockiness is getting to him at the moment. He's struggling with the pressure right now with Vettel all of a sudden finding some form. Mm-hmm. I think he fell into that false sense of security where maybe, like I said before in another podcast, where he's believing the hype, where all the fans are saying, Leclerc's got it all over Vettel, that's it, Vettel's finished. And now all of a sudden, hang on a minute, Vettel's not finished. Shit, where's this coming from? And I think he's maybe struggling to deal with this now.
Yeah, well, he's still quite young, so I'm sure it is getting on.
It comes down to experience, right?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, because he was given a 10-second penalty for that incident for not coming in. But I just wonder if, because the race director told him on lap 3 to come in, so because the argument was once that thing had fallen off, there was no unsafe condition anymore, but he had the opportunity on the first lap where there was an unsafe condition.
And the second lap then, if he was told on lap 3.
Half of the second lap. And that's why I think on lap 3 the race director told him to pit. So the race director did do something about it, but I wonder if something like that, maybe there should be more intervention from the race director straight away instead of waiting and see what the team does. That's just what I'm thinking here. I'm just trying to look at it from a different angle, that's all.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But at the end of the day, really, I feel like the onus needs to be on the team.
Oh, I mean, he was penalised at the end of the day. Yeah.
And I think that's a fair call, but I think he could have been penalised during the race as well, not after the race.
Okay. No, fair enough.
For example, if they'd given him a drive-through penalty, he would have suffered more than just a 10-second time penalty at the end of the race. Do you know what I mean? I think he should have been penalised there and then.
Right. Okay. So you're saying the penalty didn't quite fit the crime.
Yeah. Well, that it was all there, right? It was from the start of the race. So why did the race director and stewards need to wait till after the fact to say, okay, we're going to add 10 seconds to his time, rather than just issue him with a drive-through penalty or a 5-second stop-go penalty or whatever it may be during the race when you've got all the time? And at the same time, he was making all of those passes and affecting other people's races. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean,
it'd be so good. You know what F1 need to do?
What do they need to do?
They need to get like a bunch of F1 pundits, podcasters, commenters, whatever you do, like journalists, and you still have your official FIA stewards, but just let a different group each week go in and make their own calls and see if it matches up with what the official calls are, and just see and just sort of investigate what's going on in their heads type thing, you know? Cause,
But you know what will happen then? Max will never get a penalty.
no, well, I'm not saying like the guest stewards hand out the official penalties. They just do it alongside the real ones. So, you know, and then we can like compare what would have happened if these guys were stewarding the race over these guys. Because as fans, like we always get the advantage of hindsight, because we're talking about this a week after the event. We've had a lot of time to process it, see the replays, read the opinions. But would it be different if we were there doing it on the day? You know what I mean? So maybe we should next race try and steward ourselves and see if we come up with the same as fans. Yeah. So we'll sit there and we'll be in communication and we'll get out the replays when we need to, and we'll try and somehow not be affected by what the real guys are doing, and we'll try and steward ourselves and see if we've got what we would think in hindsight is the right thing to do.
I see what you're saying, but I feel like that's what we do as fans anyway. Every race.
No, but we're not doing it. We're doing it now with a week after. We got to do it during the race. You know what I mean? So, like, make the call, like, because you're saying they did it after the fact and they needed to do a drive-through. If we were the ones stewarding, would you have said then and there a drive-through?
Yeah, well, I feel like that's what I'm trying to say. Like, other times when I'm at home and we're watching the race, like this particular case, we didn't have a live chat going. But generally, if we've got a live chat, that's what amongst us, that's what we usually say. You know, we say, "Oh, that should be a penalty," whatever. We're starting to throw our opinions around. So it's probably like that in the stewards' room.
I'm sure it is.
Guys, they're probably just throwing things around. You know.
Oh well, let's record what we say and see if it matches. Well, maybe we shouldn't tell each other. And then we can come back and say, well, I said this. You know what I mean? That'll be an interesting experiment, I think.
A blind jury.
Yeah, and if you're listening at home and you want to do it, please do. We'd like to hear your results before the podcast. So we've got... Where are we going next? Mexico.
We're going to Mexico this weekend. We've got a quick follow-up podcast coming up. I guess we didn't say it at the start of this podcast, but apologies to everyone that this one is 1 week late. But... I was overseas, as we've discussed, so that's why we're a week late this week.
Yeah, and I guess next time we'll do a better job of letting you know what's happening, because we didn't really tell you, it's just late. Just, you know, you can read our minds. But yeah, if you want to play along, please do.
Give us a break. This is episode 20. Yeah, a landmark episode.
It is. I can't believe we're up to 20 already.
There we go. The F1 season is nearly done. What do we got? 4 more races to go.
I know, that's crazy to think. And, while I've got the moment, if you are new and listening, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating, 5 stars if you've got, on iTunes. And, you can find us anywhere you can find podcasts. So just search Lights Out F1 on your favourite platform. You got Podbean, Stitcher, FM, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google, still not coming. Apparently we're not available in Australia, which... really, really sucks for you guys who use Google Podcasts, but
I don't understand that, but yeah,
just search Lights at F1, you'll probably find it.
Jump onto our Facebook page, guys. It'll be the easiest and best way to just get in contact, leave a comment, leave your thoughts and reviews of the race or whatever, or if you've got any questions you want us to discuss, go for it. Jump on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. All right, what was that, light 3?
Yep, we're up to light 4.
Light number 4. Now, the Racing Point protest against Renault. You described it really well. So for those who aren't familiar, can you just do the dumb version of what's happening here? Because I think
this came out to light after the Japanese Grand Prix, where Racing Point had fired in a protest against Renault. Now, apparently it's like a 12 or a 15-page protest. So there's a bit of work gone into this. So I doubt very much that they've just decided, hang on, this is what's happening. It seems like they've been working on this for a while. So you'd think that there's something to substantiate it. But the claim is, if anyone hasn't heard, that they are claiming that Renault are using an automated brake bias system, whereby, as we know, drivers, especially if you ever watch Lewis's on board, he's always changing his brake bias coming into the corners at the end of straights and so forth.
Yep.
Now, the claim is that Renault are pre-mapping their brake bias corner by corner. So they are mapping it into the car's ECU, and then the hybrid system, which handles the rear axle, is basically acting as the brake bias system here, so the driver is not having to change the bias heading into a corner. So when it's 50 metres or 100 metres before turn 3, the car knows that it needs to be at 57%, so it automatically changes to that, and all the drivers are doing is just driving the car. So
I wonder
this
if
is the claim.
I wonder if this is true. I wonder if it, at the same time, because you know when the tyre wear becomes a bit of an issue, and then you could change the bias to fade in understeer or oversteer, whatever you want. I wonder if it's also reading that data at the same time and adjusting for the change of conditions on track or in the car itself. Because that would be a huge advantage if it's true.
I guess if there's some way for it to measure the slip of the car and whatnot, it's definitely possible. I mean, this is Formula One, right?
Yeah.
But again, if that's maybe the only thing that the driver maybe needs to override the system with, like if he wants a little bit more brake bias, maybe that's when he hits the plus or the minus. But then again, this is all allegations at this stage. The FIA have impounded the Renault ECUs from both cars and both steering wheels from the cars.
They've been sealed and impounded.
So it's going to be a long investigation, I feel, and we will have to wait and see what comes of it. It's going to be very interesting to see what the outcome of this is, because a couple of things here have got me interested. Is that this comes from Racing Point, this protest. So none of the big teams have like piped in, like jumped on the bandwagon. Like I haven't heard Christian Horner, Red Bull, I haven't heard Mercedes, I haven't heard Ferrari, kind of back up this allegation, or I just found it a little bit odd that none of the big teams
That's a good
are onto
point.
this.
That's a good point.
So I was just thinking about this, and I'm like, so does that mean they're possibly using this system as well, and that's why they're just keeping their mouths shut, or?
If it is to be true, and if you're asking why a team wouldn't chime in with something like this, that'd be the reason why I wouldn't chime in. It's because I'm doing it too.
Because quite often in the past, when, like for example, with the oil issue with the Ferrari engine last year,
Yeah.
when Mercedes were complaining about that, Red Bull were chiming in with it. You were hearing these other teams saying, the Ferrari engine is sus. Oh, there's a funny smell every time they go past, whatever.
Yeah.
But now I've just noticed in this last week, since I've come back from Japan and just been on social media, it's always Racing Point. The other possibility here that I've thought of is also, I guess, could be that is it not Racing Point? Is it Mercedes who are behind this through Racing Point?
I mean, now you're getting into bloody tinfoil territory.
Yeah, well, they do supply 3 of the teams on the grid, so
I know, and it's easy to make these connections, but we shouldn't probably get too carried away. But I like your train of thought.
Going to a completely different train of thought, not changing the subject, still on the point of Renault and this alleged brake bias thing, in some weird way, and as a Dan fan, and consequently a Renault fan because of Dan, I'm actually excited that Renault are, if there is some truth to this, that they are actually being innovative and, stretching the boundaries. I actually like it,
well, that's why we like F1. We've mentioned that before, that this is why we enjoy the sport of Formula One. It's just these things happen, and they testing the limits, the engineering, the technology behind it all is always so fascinating.
You know what? Like we're saying, maybe there is some truth to this, but maybe they are stretching the boundaries so far, but actually, with their interpretation, managing to keep it within the law.
Well, isn't the law that they're breaking that the driver is meant to drive unaided or something?
That's right.
So you could technically say this is a driver aid.
So what if
like
on,
ABS or traction control.
what if on Dan's steering wheel he has a button? So yes, every corner is pre-mapped into the car, but all Dan has to do is just press the button on his steering wheel to instigate that map. Well, then all of a sudden that becomes a driver input.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what you could if I get ya, so free practice 1, free practice 2, Daniel goes out there and he goes on turn 1 I want it at 55, turn 2 has to be 55, turn 3 I want it back to 50, turn. So he's saying this is what I want, but and then they program that in. He hits a button and it's turned on, but you could also say it's unaided if the car is just figuring it out by reading all the data input from the tyre temps, the loads, whatever. Because technically, if Daniel is the one programming the brake bias beforehand, then that's technically a driver input, like you said. But
that's what.
So that would mean, in my head, it's legal, but it would only be illegal if it was reading a lot of other data and just being dynamic and changing it from lap to lap according to whatever information the car's receiving to come to that brake bias input, whatever it may be.
I know we're going down a massive hypothetical rabbit hole here,
You
but
have
hey,
to,
that's
but-
what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
We're here to give opinions and our thoughts. So what I'm saying is, even if Dan's not necessarily, you're calling that mapping it in practice, whatever, because let's take, for example, the engine maps. Dan doesn't map the engine. The engineers do that, right? Map 1, map 2, map 3. Then they tell him how to access that map, turn this dial to that, whatever, and he accesses it. So what if the brake bias is pre-mapped into the car, but Dan is pressing a button on the steering wheel to instigate that map as he's approaching each corner? All of a sudden, that means Dan is changing the bias, not the car. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be legal.
So we'll have to see what happens. And then you've got the other questions. What happens if it is deemed illegal? What happens? Do they just get striked from this year's championship, or who knows what the penalty's
it'd be
gonna
a big penalty. It'd have to be.
Yep.
So yeah, if Renault have done this, then they'll be sweating bullets.
Like, you remember the old F-duct system that Red Bull... was it Red Bull who innovated that when they had to put their left hand over a duct down in the cockpit?
Oh, it sounds like an Adrian Newey thing.
I think it was, and then that was outlawed. And there's always something, you know, like...
Was that at McLaren?
No, they had the third pedal.
No, it was. I've got here McLaren doing the F duct.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Red Bull.
Yeah. So back when, I don't know when, but yeah, it's called the McLaren F duct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they were the ones who innovated that. Well,
So it was to minimise high-speed drag while on the straights.
and then the blown diffusers, which Adrian Newey perfected with the Red Bull, when you know, and that was Renault engines who were involved with that. So this is what I'm liking, that it's actually got me excited that Renault are being innovative. Like, I like this protest in some weird way.
The F duct is literally the brainchild of DRS. It did the same thing. Literally. Because it gave
the way it changed the airflow just by blocking that hole. That's right.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Because it gave them another 3 miles an hour down the straights. So,
And then it was deemed dangerous because they had to take the hand off the steering wheel, like Leclerc was doing last weekend, holding his mirror in place before it broke off.
yeah. And they were doing 130R at one-handed. I mean, Damon Hill tweeted that, you know, like, it's amazing that can happen, but it's sort of, like, it takes away the spectacle of 130R, that they could just casually go through it one-handed, you know? So, I kind of know what he means.
When I was watching the one other support race that I said, the Porsches, going through 130R, there was quite a few of them running wide there, you know, like pushing the car to the boundaries of the limit. So obviously in a car with much less aero,
Yeah.
it's a very tricky corner to take, as fast as you dare. But in these current spec Formula One cars, it's basically a straight now. It's not really a corner anymore, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. Maybe we need like a 145R or something. And see what happens.
So that's the Renault protest, and we shall see what comes of it.
Yes. Last light. Let's talk about the Lewis comments through the week. And, it firstly had the one in the race, after the race, where he said, "We have been racing freely all year."
That was in response to... excuse me. That was in response to the lady who does... I can't remember her name. It's not Natalie Pinkham. It's not Natalie Pinkham. She's... Rachel something, is it? Okay, anyway, it escapes me right now. But she does all the driver interviews in the pen, and she asked Lewis, she said, now that both the championships have been wrapped up, it's McLaren... I mean, Mercedes have won the championship.
Technically, the drivers isn't wrapped up yet.
But it's wrapped up in the sense of only Bottas or Lewis can win it now. So Mercedes have wrapped up both championships for the year.
Yeah, okay.
She asked the question. She said, she said, does that mean you and Bottas can race freely now for the last 4 races?
Yeah.
And Lewis, got to give it to him, with a straight face, he actually said, we have been racing freely all year, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, shit.
And I think just in the one race, Bottas just... with the topic of our podcast today, has just, contradicted Lewis by saying himself on the radio, James, it's Valtteri. Well done.
Yeah.
Like, even Bottas knows. That just made me really laugh.
And Lewis, during the race, he was not happy that he was not winning that race with the tyre choice, which...
You gotta give it to him, right? He is a competitive bastard.
I understand that, but... it happens every time, and it just makes him look like a crybaby, or just a whinger, and I hate... it just seems every time that Mercedes go for an alternate strategy on tyres, and he's not up the front, it's the end of the freaking world for him.
It's one of the things I honestly can't stand about Lewis. It's like that whinging... moaning diva in him just comes out, and for sure it's gameplay, half of it, I reckon. He's just constantly just whining. I mean, surely he can't be this much of a whinger.
Well, he whinged on Instagram,
and it's like Rosberg said in his podcast, don't believe a thing Lewis says, it's all gameplay. He knows exactly what he's saying, and he's always got a reason for saying stuff. So
when did he say that?
A couple of podcasts ago, if you watch the Rosberg podcast.
I don't, make
not
a habit
podcast,
of
or, YouTube, whatever you call it, vlog.
Yep. Okay, interesting that he said that.
So he's probably, in Lewis's way, putting the pressure on his team as to, why am I a whole pit stop behind Bottas?
Yeah, right. Okay, interesting. But, did you also see what he did on Instagram through the week?
Are you referring to him being about... Did he say something about he might not race because it's not green, or...
Well, he didn't say he wasn't going to race. He just was like saying, I want to give up, and
sometimes
telling
I feel
people
like giving up on everything. Is that what he said? Was that the quote?
He basically said you need to be a vegan, otherwise you hate the world. And, he just got so much shit for it, and understandably so. And then there were pictures with him with supercars and stuff. And then I think, who was the Formula E bloke? Eric Verne tweeted him and said, Lewis, if you want to, because he's a Formula E driver, he's like, if you want to change the world, join me. And because he's all for that electric cars and being greener on the environment. But it was such a weird thing for him to just come out and say, I don't know what kind of headspace he was in after that race.
That's just Lewis. Like I've always said, it's one of the things that just makes me not like him.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've said it from the very start of this podcast when we started episode 1. I said, I totally respect him and his talents in the car, but there's a lot of times that leave me wanting when he's out of the car and he just dribbles shit like this.
Yeah. And he's he's made about 3 or 4 posts since as well. So I know it made a big point, and I don't know. I was just like, just shut up now. Just shut up.
It's like a look at me, isn't it? Like, look at me. Look how good I am. I'm a vegan now. Everyone else should be a vegan now. You know, it's like, I'd be more likely to order a freaking hamburger with no bread before I order one with no meat.
Is being a vegan the same thing as a vegetarian?
No. People have told me before, but I'd never really pay that much attention. But one of them is where, like, you can't eat any dairy either or something, or I don't know. It's just something I'm not really interested in at all, and Lewis ain't going to get me interested in it.
Well, I don't eat anything that casts a shadow, so...
So, I don't know, man. Lewis and his, I don't know to call it a rant, but I think Grosjean actually called him on it too and said, no, an elite athlete needs meat, basically.
Yeah, well, like there'd be vitamins and stuff he needs, so he must be getting them through supplements. That'd be the only way he'd be doing it. So I don't know how he does it, actually.
Good luck to him is what I say.
I mean, good on him, but not everyone wants to be a vegan, dude.
I mean, just because you sold your jet, whatever, it doesn't make you, like, you're not saving the world, mate.
Oh, yeah, he did sell his jet. Interesting. All right, well, that'll wrap up the 5 Lights On Out segment. So thank you for listening. That's our first of a few. Now the checkered flag, where we can wrap up a few things quickly. The one interesting thing for me was the front wing and the Kubica comment during qualifying where he crashed out. You would have seen the crash, obviously.
Yeah, I saw the crash. I saw the comments on Facebook. I didn't realise, like you're saying that Williams didn't give him or Russell the wing. I thought Russell had the wing and Kubica was whinging because he didn't have it, and it was very unfair. And that's the take I took on it.
Yeah, well, what I read or heard was that Williams had an upgraded front wing, but didn't give it to anyone. And I think it was supposed to be Kubica's turn to use it, use an upgrade or something. But they didn't want to give it to anyone to not give them an unfair advantage over the other one. So they had an upgrade, brought it with them, but didn't use it. And then Kubica crashes out. The wind probably affected him. I don't know if the front wing was the main reason, and then he said, "Oh, this is a bloody joke" type thing. And it's kind of sad to see, because he was such a hero for many people. Love the return of Kubica, but it's sort of ending sour on a sour note.
He's just embarrassing himself now by making these excuses and these whingy remarks. I mean, just go out with dignity is what I'm saying. Even if these facts are true, you don't need to make them public, is the way I look at it. Yeah. I
find it weird that Williams would do that, but yeah, you're right. He didn't really need to air that publicly.
Well, I said to you before this podcast started, just when we were just having a bit of a catch-up, I said to you, well, being trackside, I could see, I even witnessed how shit Kubica is, because coming through those S's, I could clearly see a speed difference between him and Russell. Like, just I guess speed might be the wrong word. Like, you can't see the speed difference, but the attitude of the car coming through the S's, the way Russell was attacking it through there, and then Kubica just coming through, like.
It's what he does, man.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, but yeah. What else would you like to cover?
Just Albon's quali lap. It was the exact same time as Verstappen's quali lap, which
that was very interesting, wasn't it? Because he's been getting a hard time still for some reason, even though I think he's proven himself.
Correct. I mean, like we just said earlier, the Red Bull is definitely a letdown at the moment. Surprisingly so, to a certain extent for me. And sure, Max might have had a bad lap. Hey, but Albon matched him, right? Albon can only do what he can do. And it was the exact same time as Max, which was... I think he's holding his own, and I think he's proving himself that he may as well stay in that seat for next year, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think he's adapted really well, and to do it after the summer break and have the pressure on him to be quicker than... Well, he's already scored more points than Max did. There was some. I don't know if it was real. I haven't gone and checked it, but like in 5 races, Albon's already scored more points than Max did.
Yeah, he would have, because now that's Max's second retirement in 5 races. So, and Albon's been finishing, which is why he would definitely have more points than Max at the moment. I mean, that's a bit of an unfair
comparison
yardstick, if you ask me. Yeah. But the first few races after the summer break, that there was engine penalties and whatnot involved, and people were saying it's not a fair comparison. Hey, man, he was 50-odd seconds off the lead at Japan last week, but he finished 4th. He did what he had to do. What else can he do? Like, he had a great race.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was good.
I mean, Max fell off the track through no fault of his own, but at least Albon was there and he picked up the pieces.
Yeah, and I just wonder when it's going to stop. Like, Albon, I think's proven himself races ago. Like, but
I think the thing that's marring a lot of it is that Gasly's doing so well since he went back to Toro Rosso.
Yeah, but
but
Gasly knows
that doesn't prove
car.
anything, because he was doing so well there before he came to Red Bull as well.
Exactly.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah, and then
that's
he's
why
gone
he
into
came
the
to Red Bull,
and he hasn't adapted at all. Like, Albon's been consistent from the bloody get-go.
Exactly, and if we compare Albon's Red Bull career to Gasly's Red Bull career, it's not even a comparison.
No, Albon wins hands down. It's not even a contest. Not even a contest. And the last thing, did you know while you were there on the race? I didn't even know it until after, but the race being ended early because of the checkered flag being shown early on the digital display.
I don't know what that was all about. I thought the race ended because of the crash with
because Perez
and
he
Gasly.
Was so lucky.
But apparently the flag had already come out before that crash.
Yeah, I don't think it was the checkered flag, like the actual flag. It was like a digital, the digital checkered flags that fly. Apparently they were shown a lap early,
but where were they shown? Like,
I think it was on their.
Did they fly on the driver's steering wheel?
I think they've got one on their wheel. Yeah.
Wow. Because I did hear that Vettel made a comment about only the real flag being waved is the one that should count or something, he said.
Well, in the day and age of electronic bugs and stuff, I kind of agree. I mean, if you don't see that checkered flag flying, then you're racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, the rule is, if the checkered flag flies, that's when the race stops. So, all you need to do is pay someone off to get the checkered flag and wave it after lap 1. And
a little 14-year-old hacker.
Yeah. No, but that could seriously happen. Like, that's no joke. Like, power grids get hacked. Like, I'm big... Like, my other thing is IT, and on the security side of things, like, that could literally happen. So... that's something to think about in the future, because everything's connected these days.
Yeah, well, there's always someone trying to do something, isn't there?
Yeah, and that would mean, then, like, if you're putting big money on a race, like there'd be big money involved for that to happen. So there'd be someone winning big money out of it, bookies. It would cause a freaking mess. So either their system isn't connected outside of... It's not accessible via the internet, but still, an inside man could do a lot of damage if they could just activate that checkered flag whenever they wanted.
Yeah, I totally missed that there on the day.
Yep.
But
anyway,
that is the race. That is the Japanese weekend. That is Suzuka done and dusted for 2019.
Sure is.
So just to wrap up on our S3 awards, who do we award for the Japanese race? The superstar, the surpriser, and the stinker for the weekend.
Ricciardo gets my superstar.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
Good.
Well, he qualified 16th. And then after the penalty was served, he finished 6th. And Hulkenberg was like... Where was Hulkenberg? He was down.
I think he finished 10th.
Yeah, you see, like, I think, like, Ricciardo did well. He was making overtakes here and there, and I don't know, he was doing good. Who knows if that was the brake bias thing working its magic.
Oh, it's marred it now, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely.
No, well, I've got Bottas as my superstar this weekend because he was up there in P1 and P2, had Saturday off. He came back for qualifying and he was a fair way off Vettel, but then he just nailed that start, didn't get balked by Vettel, and, mate, he just drove away with that race.
Oh, yeah. He did well, Bottas. He was the close call for my superstar.
Well, my surpriser was Ricciardo, so there you go. I had a 2 and a 1.
I gave it to Sainz this week.
Sainz, yes, he had a good race too, didn't he?
Yes, I'll give him the +1.
Mate, he's had a great year so far, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's just been consistent, and he's driving that thing well. He's staying out of trouble, and he's doing the best he can in a car that last year you wouldn't have said could even perform the way it's performing now.
Super consistent. You know, one thing that I was going to mention that I did forget in the checkered flag was that I heard or I read during the week that McLaren are taking a bit of a radical step in their car design next year.
Right. I don't know. What are they doing? Do you know?
No, I don't know the specifics of it. I don't think it's actually out there yet. But I heard that the boss said that they're taking a different direction. Andrew Sedell or Andre Sedell. But I just find that odd because next year the rules are probably going to be pretty stable to this year before we have the big change in 2021.
Yeah.
And they've made such a leap forward this year. I don't understand why they want to take a risk for just 1 year when they've got to have a new concept again in 2021. So I found that really odd.
Must be money.
Because they're already changing engines in 2021.
Yeah.
And they've got a pretty solid car, so why not just tweak it and continue in the right direction? I mean, who knows? I mean, they could come out and just blow everyone away for all we know, but I just thought it was interesting that came out of on the back of such a good year that they've had.
Yeah, it is a surprising thing to say, but anyway, I guess they'll prove us wrong or right.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
And that'll be an off-season discussion.
Definitely. Stinker award, bro. Who'd you give it to?
My stinker has to go to Leclerc this weekend.
Bang on with you there. Not a great weekend.
Just a weekend to forget.
Yeah.
I mean, if Leclerc had kept his head in turn 1 and 2, it could have been a completely different race. It could have had 2 Ferraris fighting 2 Mercs, which would have just maybe changed the strategies around a lot more. So, as it stood, it just left Vettel up against 2 Mercs there, so he really had no chance, did he? I mean, I think the Mercs were stronger on the day as it is in the race pace, but yeah, he's the stinker for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to finish these tallies up, actually.
4 more races, mate, and we'll put it all together, and we'll put the Lights Out F1 leaderboard out there, and we'll see who finishes on top.
Wicked. Now, Rookie Watch, the next award, it has to go to Albon for me.
Yeah, can you go past him?
No contest there.
No contest.
I think
he's really having a strong finish to the season. I mean, being in a better car also helps now, but
he still has to perform and get the results in that car. So
exactly.
It might have been an early promotion, but I think it's paid off for the Red Bull team.
Mate, for me, he's making the most of his promotion and he's doing well.
Yeah, so, yeah. I agree, man. I think, like I said, he's proved himself races ago. I think everyone should just let him race now. Podium predictions from the last race
are terrible.
Do you have them there? Because I've lost mine.
Yep. We both had Vettel and Hamilton for first and second.
Yep.
I had Max for third. You had Bottas.
Yep.
We both had Leclerc for fourth.
Damn it.
I had Bottas for fifth, and you had Max for fifth.
Why didn't I put frickin' signs in there?
So we were absolutely nowhere.
Nah, so I'm still ahead though.
Yeah, I've got 4 races to try and catch you, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're going to need like a couple of 2s or 3s, I think.
Well, I think next week in Mexico, or I should say this week, I think is the one where I get 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5? Yeah, Mexico. Interesting. That's this weekend. And
it will be an interesting race. I mean, it's the bit of a leveler in the Ferrari power, right? Because it is at high altitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally, the Red Bulls go strong there, but I don't really have much confidence after the last few races in them.
No, they haven't. Yeah, they haven't really shown promise that we all thought was going to happen. It just hasn't appeared.
Yep. So for me, I'm sticking with Vettel on top.
Yeah, I have to agree. Vettel. Sorry, no. Did you say Vettel? I was writing Vettel for second. Hamilton for first.
You're going Hamilton, okay.
Yeah, I still think the Mercedes will just dominate. Well, maybe not dominate, but I think they'll win.
Okay. Well, I've got Max for second.
Yeah, I've got Vettel for second. So Hamilton, Vettel for me.
Hamilton, Vettel. And who have you got for third?
Leclerc.
Okay, I've got Bottas.
Bottas will be fourth for me.
Okay, I have got Hamboy for fourth.
And then I've put Verstappen for fifth.
And I have put our old mate Sainz in for fifth.
It could well happen.
You know what?
It's not going to happen.
If a couple of these big boys take each other out, like they did at Japan, Sainz might even finish on the podium here, you know.
Oh,
it could happen.
Oh, it definitely could. It's not a stupid thing to say at all.
It's not a bad track for them to just jag one, provided a couple of the top guys take themselves out or suffer some sort of DNF. I think this is the kind of race where McLaren could jag that one podium for the year. It's a possibility.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. It'd be good to see it, though. It'd be great to see it, actually.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up our fantasy league, which you had a not too bad a week this week. You were on 153 points, which now puts you 8th overall.
Bang!
With
Booyah!
2, 3, 8, 9. And I had a fairly shocker this week on 116 points, and I am overall 11th in our little league.
I think you've gone up one.
About 110 points behind you, so I'm even got my work cut out to try and pass you in the fantasy league too. So you've got it all over me in this tipping stakes.
I do at the moment. I
had freaking Norris as my turbo driver this week, and I got -6.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, so does that mean if he wasn't my turbo, I would have only got -3, but because he's my turbo, I get double -3?
Yeah, they double the negative, which sucks.
Okay.
So yes, you did. You got double -3 there.
I've changed that now to Sainz, and you watch Norris do well next week.
Yeah, you're right. And Sainz will have a shocker.
You watch.
Yeah. It always happens. But I've actually got a wild card to use, so I don't know if I should use my wild card.
Well, do you want to change your whole team around? You're going all right so far.
I know, that's the thing. Is it beneficial to just use it, or because you can, or should I just not because it seems to be working? Have you used your wild card yet?
I did.
You did, right?
You know what I wish I did though? I think the way it works, a lot of people who had Albon in their team, they scored big time because his value went up so much once he went to Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because I went to buy him once he went into Red Bull, but I couldn't afford him anymore because before he was cheap as chips when he was in Toro Rosso.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah, those who kept Albon, they would have been laughing.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what happens, I guess. All right. Now, Sim Racing Esports News. I've been keeping my little finger wrapped around a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, for this last week or 2 weeks, I've been a little bit out of the loop, so I will leave this up to you to fill us all in.
Yeah, all right. Well, first one a big one that I want to talk about is there's some allegations being, because I can't say that this is actually happening. These are only things I've heard secondhand. But there's allegations going out that there's from AOR, the big racing lead, Apex Online Racing, which are, top tier. That's like what everyone wants to be, I think. Everyone's heard of them if you're a league racer. some allegations going around that one of the graphics designers, he put a post out saying he hadn't been paid, and also saying one of the video editors weren't getting paid. So there's allegations that people aren't being paid for the work they're doing. There's been comments being put forward that it's not what it once used to be. You know, it's falling to pieces. The end of AOR is near, so it's not looking good. The community manager's come out and said he'll put a statement out this week, so I'm still waiting on that one. So it'll be very interesting to see. But, yeah, not looking good for AOR at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see how they handle this. And
yeah,
then,
all right.
Yeah. And then to top it all off, there was a commentator that was... Everyone was questioning why he was given a commentary position because the way he was talking about one of the drivers, because the driver looked to crash someone off, and he's like, oh, he's almost killed him, and after trying to run someone off the road, he's down in 8th position where he deserves to be, type thing. I mean, my first reaction was it's not really that bad. It's kind of a bit of drama, you know. People like that sort of thing, but a lot of people saw it as unprofessional, so... Yeah, just doesn't look good for them this week at all. Not great.
Like I said, I mean, when you were telling me about that earlier, I hadn't heard anything about that. But if something like that folds, wow, there's going to be a lot of people looking for new leagues and new homes because, like you said, they are probably one of the biggest, aren't they? Like out there at the moment. So
for F1, definitely, it's just the one you want to be in if you want to prove yourself. So. Yeah.
Well, there's FNL1 esports guys out there where there is none of this drama.
No, but you must be over 18 to do the F1.
Come and join us.
Yeah, F2s you can be under 18. I think have we still got spots for the F2s?
We do.
So if you're under 18, want to have a crack, and there's even a chance to be promoted to the F1s.
Well, that's what the F2s are there for. Yeah. So to fill in for the F1 grid when someone can't make it or if someone drops out, and at the end of the season the top F2 guys will get promoted to the F1s and a couple of the lower ones will get demoted for the next season.
Yeah, I'll fill you in on the results in a moment. But and then I think in about 3 or 4 days the GT Sport Tokyo qualifiers get underway. So this is the last qualifying round before they go to the finals in Monaco. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see who gets through here. So the manufacturers and nations qualifiers, all the usuals will be there. So it's, again, be interesting. They'll live stream it. They do a really good job, GT Sport. So, yeah, it
is good to watch.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't really got into GT Sport too much myself, but to watch these events, they are good to watch.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll have to wait and see who's the last few people through to the Monaco Grand Final. Now, big one, F1 esports rule change. Now, I'm assuming it was a screenshot I saw on Twitter, and I tried to, because I just saw it pop up. So I took a picture of it, or I saved the image, and then I tried to go find out who sent it, and I can't find this tweet, so it's like someone's deleted it. But what it was an email from the F1 esports organisers saying, add these people for the race, the qualifying race, and this is who's in the lobby. So it had all the names of the people in the lobby, but he'd gotten out the red marker and highlighted a paragraph, and it said, due to not being able to police it very well, they're now taking away penalties for speeding in the pit lane.
What?
Yeah. So their argument was like, I didn't really understand it, but their argument was something about because people weren't changing their race numbers or something, so they couldn't really go through the footage or something and match the number to whoever sped. But the game gives out a penalty automatically.
Correct.
So this doesn't make any sense in my head, but apparently now for the esports, you can just fly into the pits at 300 miles an hour and you're not going to get penalised for it. It's ridiculous for a top tier.
Not just top tier, the official F1 esports.
Yeah, it's
from to say we are not going to police pit lane limits now.
I know. I put the question out there on Reddit to a lot of people, and no one seemed to say anything about it. So I don't know if people care a lot. But I know I've given the Le Mans Esports Series a hard time for letting people run that, camera outside the car view, the chase cam, because it's not, it's not like we're trying. Sim racing's about trying to be as realistic as possible without being on track. That's not realistic. We've talked about having racing lines turned on or off, which again I don't think you should. I know it's an advantage and you're probably going to want to use it if you can, but again, we're trying to simulate a race. And just the official F1 turning off speed, like I can't believe this. I don't know what to say.
If this is true, come round 3 and all of a sudden we're going to see guys just flying into the pit lane, that's just going to look silly.
Yeah, again, I haven't...
Because you know what happens? They're going to fly in, and as soon as they hit that pit line, then they're just going to probably have automatic pit lane on.
Yeah, it will.
Which means they're just going to automatically... So there's no art to it. There's no finesse to it. You're just going to keep the throttle buried coming into the pit lane.
Yeah. Again, I can't confirm that this is a real thing, but I just want to point out that I did find it, and it was deleted, which makes me think that maybe it is true. But yeah, it just what are they thinking over at Codemasters? Because
is it Codemasters or is it F1?
How hard is it for Codemasters to patch in a bit of code to help them regulate to police this?
Oh yeah, I
this
see
rule.
What you're saying. Yeah, that's right.
It's not a hard job.
And we're talking about the official F1 esports series here, guys. I know I've said that a couple of times, but, there is no other F1 esports. This is the main game.
And when they they have a professional-looking broadcast when they do the stream, which is nice. But then you go to the race itself, and I always hark on about this, but there's nothing special to it. It's exactly the same tools I get at home. So, yeah, I sometimes wonder if Codemasters are really doing all they can with this esports opportunity.
The disappointment continues.
Yeah, it does annoy me. Anyway, that's that one there. The World Fastest Game in 2 apparently is underway, and I think one of the first cars they got to drive was a McLaren F1 or something. So the qualifying, the knockout
mean the real
stage,
life? Yeah.
And I heard that they were driving a McLaren, so yeah, it's pretty cool. First day, apparently they were in a real car.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I wonder which McLaren it is.
Yeah, I've totally forgotten which one, but yeah, that'd be pretty fun for them. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the World Fastest
Is there any
game.
YouTube footage of that?
I haven't looked. I've only just saw this in the last
it?
couple of hours.
All right, we might try and look that up, and we'll give you some more info next time.
Yeah, the Gfinity V8s round 3 got underway tonight, and it was on Fox Sports 506 here in Australia, which is really good for esports, which is awesome to see. And I think
so tonight, you mean Tuesday? It's on Fox tonight, is it?
It was on at 7:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I read. And is it Andretti Motorsports?
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to have a big partnership in this as well. So the real team's getting behind it. So yeah, watch this V8 Gfinity series on iRacing. There's probably going to be a bit of talent come out of it. Hey,
Zach Brown, I think, is involved with that Andretti Motorsport as well.
Yeah, it's like some of the biggest names in that motorsport team.
So that's pretty big, isn't it, to have it on Fox Sports Live as well? So.
Yeah, well, it was going to Facebook and Fox Sports, so
that's awesome.
Well, it's good to see. I was really pleased to see that happening. So, yeah, maybe start practicing your V8s a little bit more often, and you can be.
And which platform are they using? Which game?
It's on iRacing.
It's iRacing, yeah.
Yeah, which is good to see. Well, a lot of the real V8 drivers use iRacing to practice, so it makes sense.
I know Van Gisbergen's on there a lot.
Yeah. So, yeah, iRacing. Obviously, that could mean we get a lot more V8 content coming into the future. Maybe some more Australian tracks if this thing takes off.
Well, we're still waiting for this new V8 model, which is due to be coming out early next year. So that's going to be very interesting once that's released.
That's exciting. And then, wrap it up with the F1 and F2 news. F2s went off on Thursday at Suzuka. There was a wet race involved. But at the end of the day, Hawks won it overall. Uncle John, he was a new driver. And he did really well. He came second over the weekend as well. He drove superbly. Nothing like just a new bloke amongst new people, and he was up the front each and every race. And Mike come in third after the weekend. So there was some bit of drama though with BP in race 2. There was a GIF. I don't know if you saw it, crashing with Kiwi up to 130R.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a... Because they have the reverse grid race, and BP was coming through, and Kiwi and whatever, they got in each other's way, and it caused a bit of an accident, but it was a really good watch, so you can go watch the replay on Demo 1. And then the F1 as well was at Suzuka, and at the end of the day, it was BP. Because he was showing phenomenal pace in the F2s, and again in the F1s, just no one could match him.
He is just on fire of late. He's
absolutely
untouchable at the moment. I mean, Hawks was untouchable, and now BP has just stepped it up.
Yeah, well, BP seems to like the high downforce setups, and it's working for him. And then there was Hawks and Zen, second and third respectively. So I asked Zen about, getting the 4th consecutive championship, and he says it's not looking likely anymore.
He's had a tough time of it this year, and Hawks and BP have just stepped it right up. Yeah,
it's going to be it's definitely a two-way battle at the moment between Hawks and BP. And Zen could even be driving Ferrari next year. That's the rumour. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with those guys.
Let's see if Zen can get Ferrari out of their doldrums, eh?
Yeah, but again, you can watch those replays on F1 or the Demo and Garage pages, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
We are in Mexico this week on Friday with the... not this week.
Week after.
Week. This week, the F2s are in Silverstone.
F2s will be Silverstone on Thursday. That won't be streamed, but because we're doing every second week now. But
next week we'll be back on the stream. That's right.
Yeah, the last 2 rounds of the season, there's Monaco and the US. They'll be streamed because Monaco should be an interesting one.
Very.
And then we've got the F1 as well next Friday at Mexico. So tune in for that. 9:45 the stream starts for a 10 o'clock start. And hope to see you guys there. But that about wraps up all the news I've got. So that about ends tonight's podcast.
That's been our podcast, guys.
Yeah. Sorry it was late. And we will endeavour to let you know next time if this happens. But thanks for sticking around. But that's all we got.
That's right. Thank you, guys. And I've been Dr. Aussie, and till next time, push it to the limit and keep it on track.
And I'm Josh Gain, your commentator on Demo 1, Race Hunt on the Edge, and we'll see you guys next time. Good night.
Peace out.